Good morning and welcome everyone to Friday Cafe. So glad you're here. Today, you're going to be meeting one of those folks we've known for a long time. We were just talking and Kim Bobin, our lead presenter today, has been with Friday Cafe since the very beginning. We're really thrilled to feature her. So I'm Judy Carson with the State Department of Education, joined as always by my colleague, co-creator, co-host, and friend, Betsy Laborious, who's the director of the Connecticut Family School Partnership at CREC. So today we're featuring English learner families. Definitely a hot topic, definitely something that has come up in almost every conversation I've been part of. We're really happy to launch this conversation knowing that we need to have many more to come. We're excited to also hear what you're doing with English learner families in your community. To set the stage and to launch our conversation, I'm really pleased to introduce my colleague, Megan Alubicki-Flick. She is the English learner consultant in the academic office at the State Department of Education. I'm very pleased to introduce Megan to our community and to let you know that Megan is a resource, is an ally in this work. Incredible resources and knowledge base in this field. So I'm really pleased that she's able to be with us today. Welcome, Megan.
Thank you so much. I am thrilled to be here with you all today, and it's very exciting to look in the chat and see the diverse range of districts represented and roles represented among the participants here. What I really love too is that I am so accustomed to working very, very closely with those people that are directly responsible for assuring that our multilingual learners are successful and promoting their success. And I certainly love working directly with those professionals, but I see in this chat that there's an even broader range. And so I always think of that as such a treat and an opportunity to talk about multilingual learners with folks that have different or broader positions in their field. So I wanted to talk about quickly one thing that's going on both at the national, the state, and the local levels around assets-based terminology. So this is really a foundational and very fundamental way that we can affirmatively lift up and I acknowledge the strengths and the assets that our multilingual learners bring to the classroom and that their families bring to the schools and the communities. So if we go way back in federal law, the students that I'm referencing were called limited English proficient. And I think all of us can immediately hear that limited and we see that that is a deficit orientation. That limited English proficient was enhanced with No Child Left Behind into English language learner and in ESSA to English learner. So we just kind of dropped that, that repetitive L in the middle there. But still, if we think about English learner, we are saying right at the outset what the student doesn't possess, instead of acknowledging the strengths and the assets that they bring. So as Judy noted, we're calling this connecting with English learner families. And while we are certainly doing that, I encourage you to consider using a more strengths and assets-based term. I choose to use multilingual learner. Frankly, we know that advocacy predates policy change. So even though our laws still use the term English learner, I encourage you in your districts, when you're thinking about both your students and their families, to think about these strengths-based terms as a way to, again, affirm the values and the rich assets that they possess. So if we can go to the next slide, please. And I also wanted to set the stage by reminding us all who we are talking about when we're talking about multilingual families. So we have this fancy Venn diagram here. And oftentimes, when we think of multilingual families, we're thinking of those only represented right in the middle of that Venn diagram. Parents and guardians that have that limited English proficiency and whose children are classified as multilingual learners. So we're kind of using that, the student's classification as a multilingual learner, as a proxy to think of their families as potentially multilingual as well and needing some support with language. However, as a reminder, of course, we have parents and guardians that have limited English proficiency who have children that are not classified as multilingual learners. So on our left-hand side here. And we also have parents or guardians that have fluent English language proficiency whose children are classified as multilingual learners. So that we're really tasked in our various roles to assure that we are meeting the language needs of families, remembering that simply having a student who is identified as a multilingual learner does not necessarily signify whether that family will have those multilingual needs. So I think that's really important, especially as I was looking at all of the various roles, again, represented here today. How do we build our systems and how do we build our supports within districts to assure that we are casting that wide net and ensuring that we're supporting all of the families that need those multilingual supports? Next slide, please. So I wanted to introduce you to the CSDE English Learners page. What can you find there? There's loads of information, some of which may be not really in your wheelhouse, and that's totally okay, but it is there. So there's lots of guidance and resources. There's templates for documents and loads of recent communications. The templates, several of our templates are in the 6 most commonly spoken languages in Connecticut. So rather than reinventing the wheel 207 times in all of our districts, I want to remind you that if you're looking for some translated documents, you can find some of those right here on the English Learners page. You'll see that the title of the slide is linked. It will bring you right to the page, and we will be providing those links, I think. I think that's what Judy was saying, right? Yep. Okay, I've also highlighted a couple resources that might be of particular interest to you. The first is information for parents and families. And what that is essentially is a parents and families, multilingual learner families Bill of Rights. What do you need to know if your student is a multilingual learner, and what rights do you have as a parent or guardian or family member of a student who is a multilingual learner? One of those things is that families are entitled to receive information in a language that they understand. So that document is available. I also wanted to note that that is available in the top 6 languages. And so that is something that it can be a little legal sounding, but it could be a good resource for you and in your various roles. Also, I've included the Council of Chief State School Officers promoting attendance for English learners in remote and hybrid environments. And we know that largely we are not any longer in remote and hybrid environments. But why I included that was because this document has a lot of very, very practical, applicable ways to support multilingual families. So it was intended for during the COVID pandemic when things were more remote or hybrid. However, there are still very applicable resources and suggestions and recommendations available in that document. And then finally, I've included a reminder that there's a listserv sign up. So you don't have to go back, it's okay. And the listserv sign up if you're interested in receiving information around multilingual learners. please feel free to sign up for either the Title III listserv or the bilingual listserv. I do include some information about grants, but also about resources, trainings, etc. So all are welcome. I would like to have 1 million people on the listservs, frankly, because that would mean that the information is being shared widely. So I hope you'll consider that. And then if we go to the next page, I'm not going to walk you through all of these additional resources, but I did want to share that these are available. These have been collected, and we have my colleague, Dr. Gladys Labus, who is the Director of Language and Equity, and I, in previous presentations, have talked through some of these resources, and I wanted to make those available to you. And so next slide. I think that is it for me. I'm thrilled to be here, and I hope I set the stage at least just getting started. I am eager to work with you. If I can be of assistance, if you'd like a person to troubleshoot with or a thought partner, I am here. You can reach me at my email. I'm always happy to have a chat as well. Sometimes gray area and complex situations are easiest discussed by phone. So just shoot me an email and we can connect. And without further ado, I will pass it over to the next person. And thank you so much.
Thanks, Megan. Betsy, that's you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much, Megan, for the information and for setting the stage, and a lot of great resources that people can then use as we move forward. So my name is Betsy Laborious. Judy introduced me. We're kind of partners in crime in terms of developing Friday Cafe and helping it to keep going. Of course, if you're new, this is our 7th year, and we so welcome you. And so our, you know, what we say is, if you like what's going on, bring another person, because we just continue to expand and get better. So happy Friday. So it is Friday, it's Friday Cafe. And thank you for introducing yourselves in the chat. I see a lot of new names in there. I am thrilled. But for just right now, I'm gonna just say, take a deep breath. Friday Cafe for me, and for a lot of others, is being with like-minded people. And Judy talked about innovation. And so a lot of the times when we're together, what we share is new ideas. And in some cases, we're just a little test laboratory for new ideas. So it gives me a very great pleasure this morning to introduce Kim Bobin. Kim Bobin and I have been colleagues for many years, as Kim will kind of attest to. She was one of the original, we call them champions of family engagement early on when we were testing out our idea of Friday Cafe. Can it work? Will it grow? Will people receive something? So Kim has been, Kim is the early ed family literacy and engagement coordinator for Wethersfield. And my understanding is there is a big Wethersfield contingent out there at home looking at us. And so we want to welcome Wethersfield. We love having our others come in and join us in terms of what we do. So today, what we are responding to is what we have heard from you over and over again, is that not only is it an opportunity to learn new things, but this whole idea of kind of stories and tips that you can take from real life practitioners who are doing the work in our state and are continuing to move the needle around family engagement and how we can elevate that practice. In my job, I have the opportunity to connect with and meet a lot of different people who are doing great work out there. And early on, I recognized that Kim was doing some really great work in Wethersfield. So number one, I want to thank everyone who are continuing to do this work of family engagement tirelessly for families and for children, no matter what. We know that. And I want to introduce and hand it over to Kim Bobin in terms of her presentation today. You probably saw when you registered, persistence pays off. And this is a person who can speak about persistence and paying off. So Kim, I'm going to hand it over to you. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everybody, and buenos dias. I'm very grateful most for the parents that are here today. So I wouldn't say I'm here as the expert. I am here more as a conversation catalyst. So I've already learned something here this morning. Megan is new to me. All of those resources are new to me. And it amazes me that after 7 years, there's always something new to learn at Friday Cafe. Most importantly, Friday Cafe and family engagement is linked to student learning. So I want to start the conversation today by sharing a video of one of our students in Wethersfield, who I am so proud of, who I think is about to have her own YouTube channel, which I'm sure will go viral. Her mom is here today, Ivani Montez, and I'm going to introduce you to Lindsay Montez. So Lindsay is a student of the Wethersfield ESL Family Literacy Program. Family literacy is provided by an adult education grant. So family literacy is a 2-gen program. It started out in Wethersfield as a 30-week program, 3 days a week, 3 hours a day, that was built on the model of a very successful program in Rockville, Connecticut, which is run by my colleague, mentor, and friend, Svetlana Smith. And Lindsay had been with us for 3 years, 1 year in person when she was 2 years old, a half a year in person during COVID, a half a year on Zoom, and then a full year on Zoom. So I am going to show you in 2 minutes what it looks like to be a student of Wethersfield Family Learning.
Hello, my name is Lindsay. Today, the shape of the day is going to be a rectangle. I was a friend of Family Learnings with Miss Kim. And then I am going to draw a rectangle so you can see what it's like, okay, guys? Okay, so first you draw a line like this. And then you draw a little line, then a big line, and then you draw a little line. And then you got a rectangle. Let me show you how much sides it has. It has 1. It has 2. Here's a 2. It has a 3. It has a 4 side. Let's see how much corners it has. It has 1, 2, 3, 4. And the color of the day is green, so let me color it green. Okay, let's see what green. I have 3 types of greens. This one, this one, this one. I need to finish coloring this. Okay, so now I'm finished coloring my rectangle. Now you can take a look at it right now. Okay, so now let me show you some stuff that is rectangle. This is a rectangle shape. You see 1, 2, 3, 4 sides, and 1, 2, 3, 4 corners. So this is a rectangle. There's stuff inside. You want to see the stuff inside? Here's the stuff inside. Here's also a rectangle. You see the sides? Count the sides if you know how much there is. There's 1, 2, 3 over here, 4. And there's it's actually a game. So let's see how much corners it has. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is from the refrigerator. And then this is like a special thing from Peru.
There are no words. I could watch that video over and over again. But for the educators out there, I'm sure that you can see that Lindsay was really showing us and modeling. One of the great things about Friday Cafe is modeling. She was modeling how to teach English. And she was demonstrating, right? She was using her hands. She was saying things different ways. She was repeating over and over again the corners. She was counting to 4, the repetition. And so these videos are being created by Lindsay for the children in the program this year who are learning English. So for infants, toddlers, and preschoolers learning English. And one of the most powerful things was yesterday when I went into the adult ESL class, and there was a little girl by the name of Scarlett who had her phone out and could show me on her phone how to access Lindsay's video. And so she's really teaching the next generation of family language learners. But very important in my role is I'm just a coordinator. So everything that Lindsay learned, she learned from a group of people who are on the call today, one of whom is Shawnee Baldwin from the YMCA, who throughout COVID continued to make videos 3 days a week, sometimes more, for our students, and the kids watch them. And I'd love to see some kind of research study around what they learned. Sometimes I think Shawnee thought that she was doing those videos in a void, but she obviously wasn't. And the language proficiency that this child is displaying at 5 years old to me is absolutely incredible. Also Jessica Garcia, who you're going to hear from today from Words Count, Miss Ellen from the Wethersfield Library, but most important, I think, is Ivani Montes, who is Lindsay's mom, who has been learning English right alongside of her and has graduated from level 6 ESL and is now employed in our program as a YMCA early educator to teach the next generation of kids and parents. I just wanted to say a little bit about Wethersfield and the kind of why we were doing the work that we were doing and why that matters. I think a lot of people think of Wethersfield as a homogeneous town, but that is really not the case. So last year we had 44 languages spoken in our public schools. Right now they're reporting 32. But if we look at overall census data for the town of Wethersfield, it's 23% of our population speaks a language other than English. And it's not all Spanish speaking. So Spanish is our first second language, and then Bosnian, Albanian, and then it's really split out from there. So a lot of people will say in Wethersfield, and the reality is yes. So when we first started looking at the data, we noticed that there were 10 children in Wethersfield that spoke Bosnian. But as we got to know the Bosnian community, there are actually thousands of Bosnians who live in Wethersfield, which is pretty cool. And the way I started doing this work and how I know what I know is I was a stay-at-home mom. My mother's from Mexico. And when I was home, I was very lonely. And when I moved to Wethersfield, I didn't know anyone. And so I started going to the Wethersfield Library, and my kids went to groups with Miss Ellen. But someone had mentioned that they wanted to reach out to English language learners, multilingual families, and people who were new to the community. And we weren't sure what to do, so we just decided to run a group called Time to Talk at the library, and we would just have two-way conversations. So everything that I know from listening to Wethersfield residents over the last 10 years. So I calculated the other day, I've spent over 1,000 hours in two-way conversations with Wethersfield families. And Yana Lee over here on the right, we had her baby shower, and she was so excited. She was from China, and she said if we hadn't had the baby shower, she would not have had one. And now she has a second grader. So it's nice to have those, relationships that have kind of gone on for years and years. One thing I will say to you is reach out to your partners. So this is something I've said repeatedly in Wethersfield to the K through 12, to the administrators, to the teachers, is have you ever gone to visit adult education? So if you're looking for your English, your multilingual families, many of them you can find in adult ed if you're trying to find parents. So this is Andy Rocket. He is the executive director of Vernon Regional Adult-Based Education. Wethersfield subcontracts with Vernon to run our adult ed. And Andy is one of those people who really believes that it takes a village and fully supports the family literacy program. But if you guys could show, like by a sign of hands, how many people know their adult ed director? If you could put your, yeah, okay, all right, we're good. There's a couple. Excellent. So definitely something that you want to think about is reaching out to adult ed and making sure you know who your connections are there. Another thing I would say is in terms of building trust, that it definitely takes time. So this is Nirma and Miriam. I was actually lucky enough to see them last night. Miriam is now in the 2nd grade, and she said to me, "Oh, Miss Kim, I love family learning. Like, I miss your program." But the relationships that I built with families has taken time. And someone asked me recently, do you go back and check in with your families to see how they are? And I think that that's a really important point, is that once you get to know a family, go back, right? And ask them how they are. Ask them, you know, do they have any friends that need help? Betsy and Judy and I were talking about what happens when you make a phone call and no one answers, right? So there have been many times over the last 7 years that I have called, or you get the no speak English, click, right? Or no one answers. And so what I would say is to persist. So sometimes I'll call a family if it's a family that I've never spoken to before that I know needs help or would like to, I know they want to enroll in family learning, but they're not answering the phone. I might call. And if you think about the fact, when you get your cell phone, when you get a call, you might not answer it because it might be another person wanting to renew your car warranty. But if someone calls me twice, sometimes I'll pick up. I'll say, okay, well, this is the person who really wants to reach me. It's not a robocall. Or I call and then I text and I say, this is Kim Bobin calling about ESL, call me back when you can. Or I call, I text, and then I email. And I say, this is Kim Bobin, I was calling you about family learning, here's my phone number. If I don't get a response, sometimes I'll put a letter in the mail. This is Kim Bobin, I called you, I texted you, I emailed you, here's the flyer for family learning, you know, check in with me, you know, if you're still interested, and then I call again. So I would just say, don't give up on people, because there's usually someone in the family that speaks English, right? So eventually, if, you know, eventually someone will get back to you. I would say listen to your families as much as you can. So years ago, I was lucky enough to be part of a CREC training when Karen Mapp came from Harvard to talk to us about family engagement. And I remember being new and raising my hand and saying, you know, oh, Karen Mapp, Wethersfield wants to do family engagement. How do we do this, right? And I'll never forget what she said. She said, say to a parent, tell me about your child. And I was kind of disappointed because I thought, really, this is it? But then I tried it. And I would say to parents, tell me about your child. And I would wait. And I would pause. And I've learned that you can actually do that with everyone that you work with. You know, when you're talking to teachers, tell me about, how's it going, right? One of the things we've heard consistently from families who are learning English is that in America, we say, hey, how are you? And then we keep running. But even with your colleagues, like, how many times do you just stop and ask someone, how are you? How's it going? And wait, because they will tell you things that you will, you know, be completely, you know, just completely blown away. Also, I think one of the things that's really important is that we do in Wethersfield is that in addition to always making it a two-way conversation, we always include local leaders. So in at least two of these pictures, you can see our superintendent, Michael Emmett. So in the bottom right corner, he's got a green sweater, and in the top, he's got kind of a navy shirt. He's over there to the right. But Michael Emmett will come to every single program that I have. So our superintendent has been on the floor, playing with infants, toddlers, and preschoolers. He has been on every Zoom call we've ever invited him to. In the top, that is our successful transition to kindergarten program that we run with kids and families. He is always there. And I think that making sure that our local leaders are accessible to our families, gives them confidence. And so Ivani today, Lindsay's mom in our group, had talked about confidence, and constantly exposing Wethersfield families to the superintendent, to state representatives. Last night we had our town manager talking to parents, gives them confidence, which is really amazing. And use the whole ecosystem. When Judy and Betsy we were kind of talking about what I do and how I do it, and I have trouble explaining it. Judy said, you use the ecosystem. So in the top left, I love this picture. This is Aya and her husband, Mohammed. And Mohammed is the one who speaks English. So Mohammed came to us one day and someone said, oh, your English is very good. And he said, I was born here, right? So not all of our multilingual families are non-English proficient. Mohammed was born here, but Aya is from Egypt. And so Mohammed is the contact. So when I have any questions about Aya, I can go directly to him. But someone in the family or the community speaks English. You have to find out who that is. I've had uncles come in to register kids for preschool, so find out who your connection is. In the middle, these are high school students, right? Have you ever tried reaching out to high school students and asking them about their little brothers and sisters? On the right-hand side, that's Lindsay and Matthew. And Ivani had just said in our group that, Matthew knows Miss Kim cares about families. So during COVID, we had kind of challenged the older siblings, read to your little brothers and sisters. Right? So that's using that ecosystem, using older brothers and sisters to help learn English. The price right. So in Wethersfield, if you want to find multilingual families, you find them at the price right. And so sometimes what I do is I'll put ESL flyers in my purse. And when I find families, I just stop and hand them to them. One of my favorite stories is I had an Albanian family with a little baby in the stroller. I handed her a flyer. She came to family learning and 3 months later wanted to apply for a job in Hartford Public Schools. And I was able to write a reference and help her get a job. And now she's fully employed in Hartford Public Schools. But it's just that one-time connection with a family that can make a difference. Knowing where your family shop, you might want to challenge yourself to try a new grocery store or try a new bakery or go to a new restaurant. In Hartford, there's the Bosnia Mart or New York Pizza, and that's where our Bosnian family shop, and it's delicious. So knowing who are the community connectors, at the Bosnia Mart, there's someone who connects with all of the parents, right? The person who sells the bread connects with all of the parents. So I gave them an ESL flyer. And my favorite story. So I stopped the other day because I've been working way too hard, and I stopped to get my nails done. And the woman who was doing my nails, I said to her, I have been living in Wethersfield for 19 years. Do you live here? And she said, yes. And I said, I have 2 children. Do you have children? Yes, I have a preschooler and an elementary school student. And the next thing you know, we were talking about Parent Square and, how the schools electronically communicate with families and how to change the language into Vietnamese. So I would challenge you to say, use the ecosystem, right? And don't just think that you can reach families in school. Have fun and try to reach them outside of school too. And link to learning. So this is something that was, I hate to say it was new to me, but I was always good at establishing relationships with families, but I wasn't thinking about how it was linking to learning. And we had a numeracy specialist come in to talk to our families. And one of the things that our multilingual families say is that math is hard, right? Because it's not just math, it's the vocabulary around math. So I think you can tell from watching Lindsay that what Ivani learned in terms of counting transferred directly to her child. So making sure that you're always counting, that you're finding things around the house. But families want to learn, right? They want to help their kids with math. So whatever tools we can give them that are linked to learning, parents and kids can learn English together at the same time. And parents, again, parents as assets. I love this picture, and I'm going to transfer it over in a moment to Jessica Garcia, who's one of our partners. But it doesn't matter what language you speak, right? As long as you're smiling and you know that it doesn't matter where a parent is from or what language they speak, parents love their kids and they want to learn and they want to do better. So how can we reach them and kind of capitalize on that? And if I can, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Jessica. Jessica, do you want to unmute and introduce yourself?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jessica, and I work for the Village for Families and Children. I'm a senior literacy coach for the Words Count program. I'll give you kind of a brief overview of what our program is, and then I'll talk a little bit about my experience with Kim and Svetlana and their wonderful families that I've gotten to work with for the past 5 years. So this is called a digital word counter. This is the Lena device that we use with families. And the reason that we use this with families, which I'm sure you all may know, is that the science has taught us that the amount of conversations we're having back and forth with our children, it's changing their brain structure. It's making connections between the neurons in a child's brain, and it's strengthening that brain and making them more receptive to learning. So we use this with our families. It's a system to measure talk. So we do this, we have the child with a device 5 times over the course of the program, and the family can really see their numbers move. It's a word counter, so I tell parents to think of it like a Fitbit. My Fitbit doesn't know if I'm taking 5 steps to the refrigerator for cake or 5 steps on the track. It just knows I took 5 steps. So the Lena works in the same way. It just counts words and conversation turns. It's placed in a vest, just like this one here, a tiny vest. And the device just slides right in this front pocket here. It's very easy for families. It's a set it and forget it device. So this goes on the little one in the morning, and the child will wear it the whole day. Then I'll pick it up. And the Lena device measures adult words. So anyone in the home around the child 15 years and older. It measures conversational turns. So that's when the child talks to someone and someone responds, and vice versa. And it also measures electronic sounds. So all of those devices that are all around us, our televisions, our tablets, our phones, as well as any electronic toys that the child has. Next slide, please. Thank you. And so this is called the Lena report. This is the report that we go out and we share with families. So very broadly, it just gives families all of the pertinent information. So this family did the recording 4 times. And the great thing about it is it has the most recent data as well as the previous data. So it really gives families an incentive to increase those numbers. And families get so excited when I bring this out and we talk about it. And it really is a great conversation starter. So I'll often bring it out and I'll ask a family, well, tell me what you see. And they talk about, oh, well, we talked a lot at 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock. Well, what was happening at that time? And families, oh, we were having dinner or we were watching a movie. Well, what do you do when you're watching a movie or having dinner? Tell me a little more about that. And then we talk about how can we translate the things that you're doing in those high language times to the times that are more quiet. So on this one, it looks like 10 to 11 was quieter. So then we talk about what were you doing between 10 and 11? And, how do you think you can add some more conversations? What are some things you think you might be able to do to help boost those numbers? So the Lena report really is a great talking point for families. And what's really awesome about it for multilingual families is it will pick up more than 100 languages. So it also encourages families to talk in their native language. That's one really big thing. Amrin, who's my partner, who's also on the call as well, and I really push for families is don't lose your native language. It is so important. Your children will learn English in school. Well, they hear English in school, they hear it all around them, but we really want to make sure that you hang on to your home language. That's so important. Next slide, please. Thank you. So why do we have a program like Words Count? Simply put, children who have more opportunities to converse with adults, they're better prepared for school and academic success. And by providing a program like Words Count in combination with the Lena Report, we're providing accountability. So Svetlana tells a great anecdote. Her Fitbit will let her know how many steps she's taken a day. So if it's getting towards the end of the day and I haven't hit my 10,000 steps, now I need to go out and take a walk. It's a very similar thing for families. If we see by the second recording that the numbers are going down as opposed to going up, then families start to think, oh, wait a minute, what can I do to help those numbers go up? Because they understand that conversations are very important to their children, and they want to see those numbers go up. So thank you. So I will share with you a couple of stories from my time with Kim. And one of them actually is very recent. We had a session outdoors. We do a play group on Tuesdays, weather permitting. We all get together at the park in Wethersfield. And we talk about different topics. So the topic for this particular day was routines and schedules. And so we're talking about routines and schedules and how important they are. And one of the moms in the group, Sachiko, she starts to cry. And she shared with us that she didn't have a schedule for her little one. And so in me saying how important schedules are, it made her feel bad because she didn't have a schedule. So immediately we all stopped. Now the conversation is no longer about schedules. It's what can we do to support you? And really being able to say as a group of moms all together that yes, it is overwhelming and we understand. And we value what you're feeling right now. Because if we had continued to go on and talk about the importance of routines and schedules, it would have only made her feel worse, which is not conducive to learning and to growing. So we all were able to stop and say, yes, routines and schedules are important, but we understand how hard it can be to create those rules and schedules for young children. And where can we start? You know, we don't have to have a schedule for the whole day. Maybe we start with a little piece in the morning. So maybe you get up and you have breakfast at a certain time every day, and then there's playtime after that, and we start there. So it's about giving important age, developmentally appropriate information to families, but also valuing their lived experience and what they're bringing to the table. And what kind of looks perfect isn't always what's happening in families. And how do we adjust what we know is good and healthy for families with what's actually happening and what parents can do? That was a really important experience for me to just stop and slow down. One of the other things that I've learned from working with Kim and in her multilingual families are to be very cognizant of the way I speak. So when I'm talking to families, the words that I use, can I find a word that I'm an English major, so bear with me. So can I take a $5 word and change it into maybe a $2 word that conveys the same thing, but is better able to get across my point? Another thing that Kim has taught me to do is gesture. So when we're talking about we're going to cut on the line, or we're going to have conversations back and forth. So lots of gestures to kind of, even if maybe you aren't understanding the words that I'm using necessarily, the gestures will help you to get what it is that I'm trying to say. And also valuing families' cultural history. One of the questions that we asked during the session on routines and schedules is, how do children sleep in your country? And we found out that in Japan, one of our moms was from Japan, that they co-sleep. And so we were able to talk about co-sleeping. So really, for me, the biggest thing that I've learned is to come to the work with a sense of openness and to ask questions about families, ask open-ended questions, and wait and pause and give them an opportunity to give me feedback, because they have just as much to teach me as I have to teach them. So thank you, everyone. So I'll throw it back over to Kim.
Okay. The reason I asked Jessica here today is because she's come so far. And in our group, we had talked about, days when no one comes. So even this week on Wednesday, we had a play group where no one came. Right. And so when we first started this work, Jessica came to family learning and no one came that day. And she had a whole team of people and they had crafts and resources. And I'll never forget saying to her, please come back. And don't give up on this work. Please come back, right? And, you see from Lindsay's video, that's what it looks like when you don't give up. So don't give up. The next time you're in a situation where you host an event and one parent shows up, show up for that one family and do your best. And that's how you get more families to come. But there may be days when no one is there and you cannot give up. So thank you, Jessica, for not giving up on us. One more thing we had talked about quickly was culturally responsive practice. We had received a small grant to add multicultural things, to our classroom, multicultural dolls and books. And Shawnee Baldwin, who is our early childhood educator from the Y, said, why are we going to buy this crap on Amazon? Excuse me for using that word, but why are we going to buy this junk on Amazon? Why don't we just have families make stuff? And so that's exactly what we did. And so Maria Vasquez and Ivani Montez, who are here with us today, did a whole lesson, around Peru. And we talked about colors. We talked about red and green, and we ate great Peruvian pastries pre-COVID. Wethersfield Historical Society also allowed us to do a whole presentation, a whole museum exhibit called Holidays of Wethersfield's World, where our families were able to have tables and create little books that had QR codes that you could scan and listen to their music. But families were able to put together a museum exhibit. And one of the biggest things in, even Maslow's hierarchy of need is love and belonging. And do I see myself here, right? Do Wethersfield families see themselves in our museums? Do our kids see themselves, kids and families see themselves in our schools? And allowing families to create those artworks or things that we can see rather than buying them on Amazon, I think is really priceless. So I want to introduce Maria. Maria is just going to say hello. Maria has been a student in family learning since her son, Justino, was 6 months old. And she recently applied to be a parent ambassador in Wethersfield. So the Office of Early Childhood has created a parent cabinet, 15 parents at the state level to talk directly to policymakers. And then we have created parent ambassadors in each town to make sure that parent voice is elevated to the state level. And we are so incredibly proud of Maria and everything that she has done here. I'm trying to find her. ¿Estás aquí, María? Okay, all right.
Yes. Hello, everyone. I am Maria Vasquez. I am from Peru. I live in Wethersfield since 6 years ago. I have 2 children. My daughter is senior in high school, and my son is 4 years old in preschool. I love the family learning program because it has been very support for me and my son. In this program, I am learning English, learning about the new cultures, and making new friends. Best of all, we are a family. I thank him and all the staff. Of the family learning program because thanks to the class of English, I have an appointment to make my application for citizenship. I feel fortunate to be a part of WEC. I am now a Wethersfield parent ambassador, and I'm here serving all of you and working together for all young child, all young children. Thank you for the opportunity. Nice to meet you.
I'm so proud of Maria. I'm so proud of Maria. It's so funny. Maria will come to our meetings and she'll talk in Spanish and we say, Maria, we know your English is very, very good. And so to have the confidence today to come to a statewide Zoom meeting and speak in front of 70 people that you don't know makes you very brave. And I'm very proud of you.
Thank you so much, Kim.
And Ivani. Ivani has spoken our small group, but Ivani, do you want to wrap up or share anything about today?
Yes, hi again. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm Ivoni Montes. I'm from Peru. I have 3 children. I'm very busy. And I have my daughter, she's 13. My son is 10. And my daughter, Lindsay, she's 5. She started kindergarten. And I was police officer in my country. I helped my community in Peru, but now I'm here. I have the opportunity to come here to the USA. I want to help families. Now I am part of the parent cabinet. And I think so, hearing all the families, we like a parents, we know our kids, no? We know the ability of our kids, the needs of our kids. I think so it's very important to share to that points to us for know what happened in our community and give to that to the parent cabinets to help our children, our community. And I want to say I'm part of family learning. I was studying English there with Kim. I'm very thankful for that program. Helped me to open opportunities for me and my family. And they helped me to find a job because my kids are in the school. I want to start working. I come here, I'm looking for new opportunities. I am happy to be part of the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ivani. I was just putting in the chat, someone had asked the question, is our program only open to Wethersfield families? And it's not. So because we're federally funded, we take, families from all towns. And people sometimes ask me, you're a Wethersfield Public Schools program. Why would you serve families from outside of Wethersfield? And the reality is that families move. So I think it's critically important, especially through Friday Cafe, that we know our colleagues in other towns. I was able to call Vernon yesterday because I have peeps, right? So I knew who to call in Vernon. We had a family who needed some help, and please get to know each other because our families move. So our family learning program serves families outside of Wethersfield.
Kim, I can add one.
Go ahead. Sure, go ahead now, Vani.
We are immigrant here now. I think so. It's many families like myself, and it's a new start for us. It's very hard, no? What I say in the other group, it's hard for us because learning the program, learning another language is a process, no? We feel frustrated to don't help our kids, like parents who born here in this country, no? For us it's a little harder. And I say help to the other immigrants to integrate our community because that makes feel like very happy to all that people who came from other country. I don't speak very well English. Look, a smiley face is very, they put us like very happy, very emotional to continue. We want to continue working for our families, for ourselves, no? And I want to say that it's not easy, it's depressing, frustrating, it's very hard. But I say, I know people during my life, I know people to help me to support me to be like now. I'm sorry, I'm very emotional. Sorry for showing my emotions, but the only thing is not easy. And sometimes I like to be positive, to tell that nice things happen in my life, but we face with other people to know what they saw you and say, you don't speak English? You are here in the USA. That hurt ourselves. And I think positive and look the nice people who are in front of me. Thank you.
I forgot to bring my tissues, but so I think that was a perfect close. What Ivani just said is I hope my words complement what she just said is, you know, I know that you might be afraid sometimes, right, to pick up the phone and call a family, and that you might be afraid that they don't speak English or that you can't reach them, but pick up the phone anyways. Please try, right? Because kids and families need us right now. And, you know, what's the worst thing that might happen? Maybe you're going to embarrass yourself, or maybe you'll make a mistake, or maybe you'll change a life. So please just, you know, keep trying to reach out families.
I actually wanted to share something that Ivani was talking about, because it really touched home for me and my family, because my parents immigrated here in the 80s, and growing up, we only spoke our native language, which was Somali, in the home. And I went to ESL until I was 5 or 6, and I was born here. My mom, she kept saying that she felt like she failed, that she didn't do what she was supposed to do, and how sad she was that me and my sisters had to go to ESL even though we were like born here. And she was saying that she felt like she failed. And when I told her about working with Kim and Svetlana, she said that she wished she could have had a program like this. And it's just, I don't know, I'm a little, I just wanted to share that. I don't know.
Thank you.
Let's see, this is Nita. Hi. Can I share something? And I actually have never shared this here, but I just wanted to say that it's amazing to have programs like yours. And I say that I came to the USA for high school because my parents were educators, right? And it was the hardest time of my life. I never do that to my kids. So I never, because of the way I was treated, I did not teach Spanish to my kids. So my children, my 2 older ones, do not speak Spanish, right? I don't think I did it on purpose, but thank you for recognizing that people like parents whose home language is not English are just as smart as any one of us, including myself. I always say I'm an English learner, and that our language is finally being valued, and that is amazing. I know that in the family engagement world, there's a couple of us who advocate for that. But thank you. Muchas gracias por traer a todas las mamás que hablan español solamente, sin preocuparse y sin importarle que solamente aquí se hablen los 2 idiomas. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I just wanted to say one more thing. It's just how amazing these programs are. Like, it's something that we can bring families together, bring communities together, bring all kinds of languages, and having that support really does make a difference. So thank you.
I want to say thank you so much, Amran, Nitsa, Ivani, Maria. This has been a wonderful session. Thank you, Kim, for bringing your work to us, to Friday Cafe. One of the things I'm thinking about is our communities and our families have incredible assets. And one of the things I admire about Kim is that ecosystem idea. She connects. Do you have these pieces in your community, the early childhood program that could connect with the adult ed program and serve families together? It's something we can do. And at this time, our school districts do have some resources. Is this something that people can pull together and start working with families, parents and children together? It's very powerful, learning for both generations. And we saw Ivani talk about, and many parents talk about, and it's also a road to economic success. So I want to thank everybody. We do want to keep the conversation going. This is a very deep and important topic. And I want to thank you for joining us and wish you a good rest of the day. Take care.